Imagine this. In just the next 6 months, you could look back and see a completely different version of yourself. 6 months, not 6 years, not a lifetime, just half a year of absolute focus, iron discipline, and a clear plan, and your life will change so much that you can hardly believe it. The problem is, most people waste 6 months without even realizing it. They repeat the same old habits, let distractions steal their time, start many things but never finish. And when they look back, they are still at the starting line. Nothing has changed, but you are different. If you are listening to me right now, it means a question has already arisen in your heart. Can I really transform in just 6 months? And the answer is yes. The important thing does not lie in the time itself, but in how you use it. 6 months of focused direction, 6 months without distraction, 6 months with discipline and relentless action. That is the key. I want you to understand one thing. None of us lack time. We only lack determination in the right system. Every day has 24 hours. The question is whether you use those 24 hours to build your future or waste them on trivial things. If you decide today that the next 6 months will be different, that you will commit 100% to yourself, then I promise you will not be the same person you are today. On this journey, I will show you the key principles, step by step, habit by habit, to help you unlock your potential, strengthen your willpower, raise your standards, and create an unprecedented breakthrough. These are not empty theories. This is a practical plan proven through my own experience and the lives of thousands of people who have changed theirs. So the question is, are you ready to devote 6 months to becoming the best version of yourself? If yes, then let's begin together. Principle 1, time control. The first step of transformation. Have you noticed that each of us possesses the same asset, which is 24 hours in a day? The rich also have only 24 hours, and so do the poor. Successful people also have 24 hours, and so do failures. The difference does not lie in the number of hours, but in how we use them. Sadly, most people don't realize that they are letting their time slip away in vain. They wake up late, grab their phone, and let dozens of notifications pull them away from important tasks. They chase after other people's urgencies. Then at the end of the day, sigh and tell themselves, I don't have enough time. But the truth is they do, and so do you. The problem is not a lack of time, but a lack of time control. Imagine your day as a box containing 4 precious gems. Each gem represents an hour. Where will you place them? If you spend them scrolling online, watching movies, or meaningless chatter, then today's box will pass by without leaving any value. But if you use those gems to train your body, develop skills, build your career, or nurture relationships, then that box becomes a true treasure. 6 months later, the gems used wisely will create a life so different that you may not even recognize yourself. I remember 2 friends who started from the same place, the same age, and the same desire for change. The first let his old habits guide him, waking up late, spending hours on his phone, working half-heartedly, and ending the day with entertainment. 6 months later, he was the same, even more exhausted. The second was different. He decided to record and control every hour of his day. Instead of wasting 2 hours on social media, he turned them into 1 hour of exercise and 1 hour of reading. He scheduled clearly, mornings for the most important work, afternoons for secondary tasks, evenings for family. 6 months later, his body was healthier, his mind sharper, and his career started to open new doors. The only difference was this: who controlled the box of time and who let it slip away. You see, time is the raw material that creates all results. To change finances, you need time to learn a new skill, start a business, or save wisely. To change health, you need time to exercise and rest properly. To build relationships, you need time to listen and share. Nothing in life happens if you don't dedicate time to it, and if you don't manage your time, you will soon become part of someone else's plan. The important thing is that you need a system. Start with simple steps. Plan your next day the night before. Identify the 3 most important tasks to complete. Remember the 80/20 rule. 20% of effort creates 80% of results, and put your energy into what truly matters. Break your day into blocks for work, for training, for learning, for rest. And most importantly, eliminate the time thieves, meaningless notifications, unnecessary conversations, or aimless scrolling just to kill time. Each day, ask yourself, did I truly move forward today, or was I just busy while standing still? Think of time as a river flowing through your hands. If you don't build a dam, don't direct its flow, it will simply run away. But if you know how to control it, you can turn that river into a massive energy source to power an entire machine of success. Over the next 6 months, if you decide not to waste a single drop, you will create a source of power that even you will be amazed by. So let me ask you, how many hours a day have you wasted on unimportant things? If you could reclaim just 2 hours each day and turn them into time for training, learning, or creating, then who will you become 6 months from now? Stop and ask yourself that, because the answer will determine whether you are the one in control of your life or just drifting along. When you learn to control your time, only then do you truly sit in the driver's seat of your life. But mastering time alone is not enough, because there is another silent enemy that always lurks, stopping you even when you already have a clear schedule. That is emotion. And to move to the next level, you need to train the next principle, discipline, taking action even when you don't feel like it. Principle 2, discipline, taking action even when you don't feel like it. When you've taken control of your time, the next question is, how will you use it? Because if you only have a neat schedule on paper but never take action, all plans will soon be forgotten in a drawer. And this is where discipline comes in. Discipline is the bridge between goals and results. It's what turns dreams into reality, what transforms plans into achievements. Without discipline, everything remains just promises. I've witnessed so many people start off full of excitement, but after a few weeks they slow down and eventually quit. Why? Because they rely on emotions. When they feel motivated, they work hard. When they're tired, they procrastinate. When they're interested, they move forward. When they lose interest, they stop. Their life is governed by moods, not decisions. And the result? They never get anywhere. You must understand one thing. Discipline is stronger than emotion. If you only work when you feel like it, you will never go far, because emotions change day by day, even hour by hour. Some mornings you wake up full of energy, but on other mornings you just want to stay in bed and pull up the blanket. If in that moment you ask yourself, do I feel like working out today? Do I feel like working? Then you've already lost. Because the mind will always choose the easier path, always choose comfort over effort. Successful people don't ask themselves whether they should do it or not. They simply do it. They made the decision beforehand that it is non-negotiable. Just like brushing your teeth every morning, you don't need motivation to do it. You don't wait for inspiration. You just do it because it has become a mandatory habit. Discipline must be trained the same way. In the first 30 days, you will find it hardest. Your mind will constantly come up with reasons to delay. It will say, I'm tired today, I'll do it tomorrow. Or, it's raining, skipping one day won't matter. This is the decisive moment. Because each time you give in, you weaken your trust in yourself. But each time you push through, you lay a brick on the bridge of discipline. And after dozens, even hundreds of times, that bridge will become unshakably strong. I remember a student once asked me, Jim, how can I feel motivated every day? I replied, don't wait for motivation. Let discipline lead you. Action creates emotion, not the other way around. When you act, energy and motivation will follow. That's the secret. Don't wait to feel ready. Start first. Think of training discipline like training muscles at the gym. The first time you'll feel sore, exhausted, but if you persist, your muscles grow stronger. Discipline is the same. At first, your mind will resist, demanding comfort. But the more consistent you are, the stronger you become. One day, you won't need motivation anymore because action has become instinct. I want you to challenge yourself in the next 6 months. Completely remove the phrase, I don't feel like it, from your vocabulary. When it's time to train, you train. When it's time to study, you sit down. When you've committed to a task, you complete it. No matter if you're tired, sad, or bored, the action still happens. It's in those moments when you rise above emotions that you build a strength no one can take away. And remember, discipline isn't only about the big things. It's in the small details of daily life. Waking up on time instead of hitting snooze. Finishing a reading instead of leaving it half done. Turning off social media to focus on important work. Those small wins add up, transforming you into a completely different person after 6 months. So I want you to pause and ask yourself, if I truly took action every day, regardless of emotion, how would my life change? Imagine becoming a person no longer dependent on temporary feelings, but always moving forward like a machine programmed for success. That is the power of discipline. And once you've built discipline, once action becomes instinct, you'll be ready to move to the next level, Raising your standards, no longer accepting mediocrity, but pursuing excellence. That will be the next principle in your 6-month life transformation journey. Principle 3, raise your standards. Abandon mediocrity to reach excellence. When you've learned to control your time and trained yourself to act with discipline, you will discover another truth. Simply showing up consistently is not enough. You may work every day, you may complete tasks, but if you stop at good enough, you'll never reach your true potential. Success does not belong to those who compromise with mediocrity. Success belongs to those who raise their standards daily and refuse to live below what they are capable of. Picture this. An athlete may go to the gym consistently, but if he always stops at enough, he will only maintain his fitness, never breaking past his limits. On the other hand, if each session he pushes himself just a little more, 2 extra reps, 5 more minutes of focus, then after 6 months, the difference will be so clear it cannot be denied. This is true not only in sports, but also in work, business, and personal growth. Most people fail not because they don't work, but because they set their standards too low. They tell themselves, this is good enough, I've tried hard enough, and stop right before the breakthrough. But you must understand this, what you accept shapes your entire life. If you accept excuses, you will live with excuses. If you accept average, you will remain average. If you accept half effort, your results will always be half-hearted. Think back to the times in your life when you truly broke through. Wasn't it when you set a higher standard than usual? When you decided not just to finish a job, but to finish it excellently? When you refused to settle for good enough and demanded results that made you proud? Those moments made the difference, pushing you further than before. What does raising your standards mean? It means you no longer settle for doing the bare minimum, but you always ask, how can I do better than yesterday? If yesterday you did 10 reps, today do 12. If yesterday you read 20 pages, today read 25. If last week you called 5 clients, this week call 7. Every time you raise it a little, you're training yourself to become stronger, more resilient, more excellent. Look at those at the top of their fields. Olympic athletes, great artists, successful entrepreneurs. What they share is not just hard work, but extremely high personal standards. They demand of themselves to do more, do better, do faster than others. They don't need reminders, because inside they already hear a voice saying, good is not enough, I must aim for excellence. And that voice is what drives them far beyond the crowd. I know this sounds difficult, because raising your standards means stepping out of your comfort zone. It means facing pain, fatigue, pressure. But remember, no growth happens in comfort. A tree only grows strong when its roots dig deep into the soil. Muscles only grow when they are pushed beyond old limits. And humans only mature when they dare to place themselves in challenges. If you always choose the easy road, you'll never know how far you can truly go. So pause and ask yourself, what standards am I accepting for my life? Am I compromising with mediocrity? And more importantly, if I doubled my standards, how would my life change in the next 6 months? Remember, you cannot soar with the wings of mediocrity. You can only take flight when you force yourself to rise higher every day. For the next 6 months, I challenge you. Don't just do enough, do more. Don't just live okay, live excellently. Because when you raise your standards, you don't just change your results, you change who you become. And that is the beginning of a true transformation. And once you've decided that mediocrity is no longer an option, you'll need an even stronger foundation to move forward. An unshakable mindset, a mental strength that nothing can break. That is the next principle in this 6-month journey. Principle 4, build a strong mindset, an unshakable foundation. When you've learned to control your time, practice discipline, and raised your standards, you've already come a long way. But there is still one more factor that determines whether you can reach the finish line: mental strength. Because you may have a clear schedule, you may show up consistently. But if your mind is weak, just one small failure, one criticism, or one doubt can make you hesitate. That is why building a strong, unshakable mindset is essential if you want to transform your life in just 6 months. Think about the times you gave up. Wasn't it often not because you lacked ability, but because you let fear or doubt take over your mind? Maybe you started a project, but when difficulties appeared, you told yourself, maybe I can't do this. Maybe you wanted to exercise, but after just a few tiring days, you excused yourself with, it's okay to skip today. Those negative whispers in your head are your greatest enemy. A weak mind always looks for excuses, compromises with ease, exaggerates difficulties, and shrinks belief. But a strong mind is different. It's like a rock in the middle of the sea. Waves may crash against it, but they can't sweep it away. A strong mind doesn't deny challenges, but it refuses to let challenges define it. It doesn't allow fear to paralyze its steps. You must learn to train your mind daily, just as you train your body. Whenever fear shows up, ask, if I let this fear lead me, what will I lose? And then act in the opposite direction. Whenever doubt arises, replace it with a powerful affirmation. I will do it. I've already decided. Nothing can stop me. Don't wait for confidence before you begin first, and confidence will come. Remember, action creates belief, not sitting around waiting. Over the next 6 months, treat your mind as a battlefield. Each day, you only have 2 choices. Either let negative thoughts win or choose to nurture inner strength. Every time you push yourself through doubt, you win a battle. Every time you act despite fear, you win a battle. And when you add up dozens, even hundreds of these small mental victories, you will build a strength so powerful that nothing can destroy it. Also remember, your environment shapes your mental strength. If you surround yourself with negative people who only complain, you will soon share their frequency. But if you seek people who uplift, inspire, and believe in your potential, your mind will become stronger. So, have the courage to cut out toxic sources and choose to feed yourself with positivity. A strong mindset doesn't mean you'll never fall. It means that when you fall, you get up faster. When you're rejected, you don't see it as a final failure, but as just one test. When you face hardship, you don't ask, why me? But instead, what can I learn from this? That is the difference of successful people. They don't let adversity defeat them. They use it as a springboard to grow. Pause and ask yourself, what thoughts am I allowing to control me every day? Am I feeding belief or feeding fear? Because what you allow in your mind will shape your reality. If you plant negative seeds, you will harvest negative results. But if you plant seeds of strength, belief, and determination, then 6 months from now, you'll see a resilient, confident, unstoppable version of yourself. And when you've built a strong mindset, nothing can stop you from moving forward. But mindset and belief only come alive when they're turned into specific actions. That leads us to the next principle, taking 100% responsibility. No more excuses, only action. Principle 5, 100% responsibility. No more excuses, only action. There's a truth I learned very early in my journey. Your life is the result of the decisions you've made. Whether you like it or not, you are exactly where your past choices have brought you. That may be hard to accept because it's much easier to blame circumstances, the past, or other people. But stop and think. If everything is the fault of circumstances, then what control do you really have? If others decide everything, then you'll forever be their victim. The truth is, only when you take 100% responsibility do you regain the power to change. Because if the cause lies outside, you can do nothing. But if the cause lies within your decisions, your habits, your thinking, then you have the power to start over. This is the starting point of every transformation. Stop blaming and start taking responsibility. I've met many people who told me, Jim, I can't succeed because I was born into a poor family. Or, I can't change because my environment is too bad. And I told them this, you cannot choose where you were born, but you can choose how you live. You cannot control the past, but you can decide the present and the future. There are countless people who rose from poverty to wealth, countless others who failed miserably but later became icons. Their only common trait was this, they took responsibility for their lives instead of waiting for someone else to rescue them. Look back at your day. When work doesn't go well, do you blame your boss, coworkers, or the market? When your health declines, do you blame age or genetics? When relationships break down, do you put all the blame on the other person? If you're still blaming, you are handing control of your life to others. But if you bravely say, I am responsible, I allowed this to happen, and I am also the one who will change it, then the power returns to your hands. Taking 100% responsibility doesn't mean beating yourself up for everything. It means acknowledging the truth. You are the one who can turn things around. It shifts you from victim to driver. It gives you the strength to stand up and start over. Remember this saying, you cannot change the wind, but you can adjust the sails. You cannot control the global economy, but you can control how you manage money. You cannot control how others treat you, but you can control how you respond. You cannot control the rain, but you can carry an umbrella. And in the next 6 months, if you want change, begin by adjusting your own sails. Challenge yourself. Whenever results aren't what you wanted, instead of asking, "Who caused this?" ask, "What can I do differently to create a better outcome?" That simple question will change your entire perspective. It forces you to stop complaining, stop waiting, and start acting. I once had a student who complained that every business attempt he made failed because people didn't support me. I asked, "Did you take responsibility for learning sales skills? Did you take responsibility for improving your product? Did you take responsibility for persisting longer?" He was silent. Then he realized his failures weren't because people didn't support him, but because he hadn't prepared well enough. From the day he took responsibility, he changed his approach. 6 months later, his business was thriving. You see, the moment you say, "I am responsible," the power is back in your hands. When you live with that mindset, you're no longer bound by the past or circumstances. The next 6 months could be the most explosive of your life if you stop searching for excuses and start searching for solutions. So pause and ask yourself, in what areas of my life am I still blaming instead of taking responsibility? And if I took responsibility right now, what would I change? When you take 100% responsibility, you'll feel stronger than ever. No more waiting, no more depending. You become the architect of your life. And once you've claimed that position, the next step is not just taking responsibility, but setting clear goals and creating a detailed plan to turn that responsibility into achievement. That will be the next principle on this journey. Principle 6, set clear goals and create detailed plans. The roadmap to success. You've learned to control your time, practice discipline, raise your standards, and take responsibility for your life. But all of that becomes meaningless if you don't know where you're going. You can drive a car very fast, but without a destination, you're just going in circles. That's why setting clear goals and creating detailed plans is a mandatory step if you want to transform your life in just 6 months. Most people don't fail because they're lazy, but because they don't have specific goals. They say, "I want to succeed," but what does success mean? They say, "I want to be healthy," but how healthy? Lose how many pounds? Run how many miles? They say, "I want to be wealthy," but how wealthy? An extra $1,000 or $1,000,000? When goals are vague, results will also be vague. A truly effective goal must be clear, measurable, and time-bound. If you say, "I want to read more books," that's just a wish. But if you say, "In the next 6 months, I will read at least 12 books, 2 books per month," then you have a specific, trackable goal. The difference lies in clarity. But having goals alone is not enough. Many people write goals on paper, hang them on the wall, and stop there. 6 months later, the paper is still there, but their lives haven't changed. The difference between successful people and the rest is this. They don't just set goals, they create detailed plans to achieve them. Imagine you want to go from New York to Los Angeles. You can't just say, "I want to get to LA," and then drive randomly. You need a map, a route, knowing when to rest, when to refuel. Life works the same way. Goals are the destination, plans are the map. Without the map, you'll get lost. In the next 6 months, do this. Choose 3 most important goals, not 10, not 20, because you'll spread yourself too thin and accomplish none well. Choose 3 things that, if completed, would radically change your life. Maybe that's health, career, and relationships, or finances, skills, and mindset. Once you choose, write them out specifically. I will lose 20 pounds in 6 months. I will save $5,000 in 6 months. I will improve my communication skills by attending 12 speaking sessions. Next, turn goals into plans. Ask, to achieve this, what must I do daily, weekly, monthly? If the goal is to lose 20 pounds, the plan might be exercise 5 times a week, 60 minutes each session. Follow a diet of 500 fewer calories per day. Sleep 7 hours each night. If the goal is to save $5,000, the plan might be cut 20% of monthly spending, find an extra side income, and deposit fixed savings. The point isn't to write a perfect plan from the start. The point is to have a roadmap so you know what to do each day. Because success doesn't come from one big action, but from hundreds of small actions repeated with discipline. Understand this. Goals create focus, but plans create commitment. Writing goals sharpens your attention. Writing plans forces you to take specific action. And executing the plan daily builds trust with yourself. You become someone who keeps promises to yourself. One of my students dreamed of writing a book for years, but never finished. Why? Because he only said, "I want to write a book," with no goal or plan. When I guided him to set the goal, finish a 200-page draft in 6 months, and break it into write 2 pages per day, everything changed. 6 months later, he held his first completed manuscript in his hands. So pause and ask yourself, what are my goals for the next 6 months? Are they clear enough? And what's my plan to achieve them? If you can't answer, you're still driving without a map. But when you have both goals and plans, you hold the map that leads straight to success. And once you have clear goals and detailed plans, you cannot stop at preparation. Because no matter how beautiful a goal is, it's meaningless if you don't execute. That brings us to the final and most important principle of this journey. Consistent execution, without pause, without hesitation. Principle 7. Consistent execution. No pause, no hesitation. You may have learned to control your time, build discipline, raise your standards, take responsibility, and set goals with detailed plans. But all of that is still just theory if you don't act. Every dream, every plan, every standard will never become reality if you don't execute them consistently and relentlessly. This is the final and greatest difference between those who succeed and those who stop at ideas. Most people already know what they should do. They know they need to eat healthy, exercise, save money, work hard. The problem isn't knowledge, it's that they don't act, or they act half-heartedly. They start with excitement, but after a few days or weeks, the fire dies down. Then they slip back into old habits. That lack of consistency kills countless dreams. Remember this principle. Action creates results, while hesitation creates delay. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll wait forever. If you wait for perfect conditions, you'll never begin. Success never comes to those who wait. It comes only to those who act even imperfectly, even while still afraid. Imagine someone wants to learn to swim. He reads dozens of books about technique, watches hundreds of tutorial videos, even stands for hours observing others practice. But if he never steps into the water, he will never learn to swim. Life works the same way. Action is the water. You must jump in, get wet, stumble, and only then truly progress. In the next 6 months, if you want to transform your life, make action your reflex. Don't give yourself too much time to think. When it's time to work out, stand up and go. When it's time to study, open the book and begin. When an opportunity comes, grab it immediately. Every second of hesitation is a second you lose momentum. And once momentum is gone, starting again becomes 10 times harder. I remember a principle that changed my life. Act within 5 seconds. When you have a good intention, count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move immediately. Don't let your mind create excuses to delay. Excuses come faster than you think, and they will hold you back. But when you act right away, you break the cycle of laziness and build momentum forward. Also remember, action doesn't need to be perfect. Many people fail because they wait for the right moment, the perfect plan, or enough confidence. But the truth is, you only get better through action. You don't write a great book on your first draft you write, then revise, write again, then improve. You don't build a perfect business on day one. You start, make mistakes, learn, and grow. Action, even imperfect, is 1,000 times better than standing still. So imagine your next 6 months as a train accelerating forward. Every day you act, the train moves ahead. Every day you delay, it stands still. And if too many days pass without action, the engine cools down and you'll have to restart from scratch. Don't let that happen. Keep the engine hot, keep the train moving, so that when you look back, you'll be amazed at how far you've come. Pause and ask yourself, what have I postponed for too long? What dream have I locked away in a drawer? And if I began today, what would change in 6 months? Don't just think, do it right now, because time waits for no one, and neither does opportunity. Remember, success is not one giant leap, but thousands of small steps executed consistently and relentlessly. If you commit to daily execution, regardless of circumstances, regardless of emotions, then the next 6 months will become the 6 months that transform your life. And when you've lived with the principle of consistent execution, you'll be ready for the final step, closing this journey with a powerful message. affirming that the next 6 months will be the turning point of your life. So we've walked together through a journey of 7 core principles: controlling your time, building discipline, raising your standards, developing a strong mindset, taking 100% responsibility, setting clear goals with detailed plans, and finally, executing consistently without pause. These 7 principles aren't distant theories. They are real building blocks that, if laid daily, will create a bridge to a completely new life in just 6 months. Pause and imagine. Who will you become 6 months from now if you truly live by these principles? A person whose time is tightly controlled, no longer wasted on meaningless things. A person no longer ruled by emotions but guided by discipline. A person who never accepts mediocrity, always raising standards to aim for excellence. A person with a strong, unshakable mindset, ready to stand firm through any difficulty. A person who takes full responsibility, never looking for excuses, only solutions. A person with clear goals, detailed plans, knowing exactly what to do each day. And above all, a person who acts consistently, relentlessly moving forward, no matter the circumstances. If you live this way, 6 months from now, you'll look in the mirror and not recognize yourself. You'll see a stronger, sharper, more disciplined, more confident version. You'll see someone who has broken free from procrastination, mediocrity, and excuses, stepping into the life you've always wanted. But remember, that will only happen if you start today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Right now, you must decide. The next 6 months will be the 6 months that change everything. Jim Rohn once said, "If you can master one day, you can master your entire life." 6 months is just 6 sets of 30 days, 180 days, 180 opportunities to train, act, and grow. Don't let a single day pass without meaning. And now, I want to invite you to take one more step. If you found value in what I've shared, hit like to spread it, hit subscribe so you won't miss any lessons from Jim Rohn Treasures, and share this video with those you believe also need a 6-month transformation. Before we finish, I want to leave you with one question to reflect on and answer in the comments. Among these 7 principles, which one will you apply immediately to your life? Because only when you commit, your journey of transformation truly begins. You and I both hold a priceless gift. Today, use it wisely. The next 6 months could either be a repeat of the old cycle, or they could make you the best version of yourself. The choice is yours. And I believe you'll choose the second path,